A very warm welcome to every one of you present here today for the 5th chapter of the Gyan Series. It is my absolute privilege to introduce Professor Ram Kumar Kakani, Director, IIM Raipur. Sir was a professor at XLRI, Labashna, and IIM Kozhikode after receiving his PhD from IIM Calcutta. Sir has worked internationally as an academician in Denmark, Nigeria, Singapore, and the UAE. Sir has also served as the Director of Government of India's National Center for the Leadership Development and Competency Assessment. We welcome you, sir. Now, let us take this opportunity to introduce our chief guest for the day, Mr. Jogendra Singh, President, Finance at Hero Corporate Service Pvt. Limited. Sir is a BCom graduate and a chartered accountant. Sir has had a successful business career in the finance sector for more than 30 plus years, during which he has worked with several corporate chains like Hero Cycles Limited, Daimler AG, and Hero Corporate Service Pvt. Limited. The topic for the Gyan series is extremely pertinent to our time, financial leadership in the current age. With Sir's expertise in this domain of finance, we couldn't have had a better fit for this discussion. IIM Raipur community and the Alumni Committee are extremely honored to have you with us today, sir. Now, I would like to invite Professor Archana Parashar, Chairperson of the Alumni Committee and Media and Public Relations, to say a few words.
Shri Jogendra Singh ji, President Finance, Hero Corp, Professor Ram Kumar Kakani ji, Director, IIM Raipur, Dean Academics, Professor Kamal Jain, faculty, and my dear alumni. It gives me immense pleasure to welcome you all to the 5th session of Gyan series today. Today is an important day because it's the last day of the week, last day of the month, and I think last day of the year. So we are meeting on a very auspicious day. And I wish to convey all my gratitude to the alumni present here that despite being a weekend, you were able to take time and join the session. Your presence surely matters a lot for us. Thank you, and I hope to receive more and more participation in the coming months. Let me just briefly tell you about Gyan series. We launched our Gyan series in the month of August with Shri Divakar Loshali ji from Orlikon, who was the first speaker, and it was in the month of August. Subsequently, we had so many other speakers like Shri Mayank Kaul ji, then Shri Anil Bhaskaran ji, Madam Pooja Beria, and others who were addressing us on diverse topics. We usually have Gyan series on last Saturday of the month, where industry experts deliver short interactive sessions or lectures to the prestigious alumni of IIM Raipur. So this program is exclusively for the alumni, and therefore we expect more and more participation in the coming months. We had 3 chapter meets this year in Bangalore, Delhi, and Mumbai, and we also have our homecoming event Memoria on 10th and 12th December this year. I sincerely thank our director for helping us out, giving us constant support in conceptualizing this idea and guiding us throughout for the sessions. I now request Dean Academics Professor Kamal Jain to say a few words to our alumni.
Thank you, Professor Archana. Let me today speak the language of finance. In my 45 years of teaching career, the government of India has spent hundreds and thousands of rupees on my salary. I often wonder what is the ROI to the government, and I often get depressed. Then I remember one of my teachers who used to say that in your entire teaching career, if you have produced one good student, you have served the nation. Today, I take pride in saying that I have produced not only a good student, but an invaluable gem of which I'm very, very proud of. And if Jogendra Singh was my product, and if I was taking him to Shark Tank, I will probably make an offer of 0.001% of equity, and I will ask for at least $500 million for this. Jogendra, you might be working for Hero Motor Corp, but for me, you are my hero. So thank you very much, and I hand over to Professor Archana.
Thank you, Professor Kamal Jain, for addressing and enlightening us. I now request our director, Professor Kakani, to just share a few words.
I think my role is as zero, but yeah, I think I welcome each one of you for sparing your time. And this is a series which has been, in some sense, created with the idea of keeping our connect and ensuring that there is learning from each other by the alumni and of the alumni. And in that sense, it's a very in that sense there has been a thought behind it. So this particular alumni series is not just going to be only online and for that particular moment or for that particular session. I'm sure my alumni team and under Archana madam is also going to create short YouTube clips, which will be part of our, you can say, and of course, the permissions from the eminent experts such as Jogendra sir would be taken before kind of ensuring that it is uploaded out there, such that you can say the wealth of knowledge and wisdom which possibly is being created and in some sense at least being shared, if not created, kind of remains in our community and not gets lost. That is, I think, in some sense, we are not here for knowledge hiding. We are here for knowledge sharing. And I think in that particular endeavor, it kind of is fantastic of Jogendra Saab to be here. Over to you, sir. I have nothing more to say. Madam, over to you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Professor Kakani. Yes, Subhash.
Yes. Now I would like to invite Mr. Jogendra Singh, sir, to take over the session. Sir, the floor is all yours.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Mr. Director and Dr. Jain and Archana and Subhash to invite me for this wonderful session. And I'm really enamored with the name Gyan Series. And it just reminded me just now when you were talking about Gyan Series, there was a very good shloka, we used to read when we were kids. Yesham na vidya na tapo na danam jnanam na sheelam na guno na dharmaha te martya loke bhuvabhar bhutaha manushya rupen mrgasharanti. So it's very important to not only have Gyan, but also share it, with community, because that is the purpose of Gyan. The purpose of Gyan is not to store it in a closet. Rather, it is to spread all around you, and this is the only thing that multiplies by sharing. As we all hear it sometimes. And for that purpose, I think, I'm very, very thankful for IIM Raipur for giving me this opportunity. What I'm going to talk about is, some anecdotes, coming out of my journey of 30 plus years. And I have worked as CFO for Hero Cycle. I have also been the employee number 1 for Bharat Benz trucks, if you know the truck series, that we produce in Chennai. So I was in Chennai for 8 years for establishing, that company. We started as a joint venture with Hero, but later on, joint venture, did not last long. However, I spent almost about 8 years in Chennai. It was a wonderful experience. And while in Chennai, I went, all around, the world, including Germany and Tokyo. I spent some good amount of time looking at their cultures, their way of working, and sharing our way of working with them. And I'm very proud to truly say that the sharing of knowledge and the depth of knowledge and the breadth of knowledge, that I have seen in Indians and Indian colleagues, it is absolutely astounding. And it makes, as Indians, it makes me very, very proud. So let's coming back to the topic, finance leadership. I'm talking about the contemporary context, primarily what's happening today, and how do we really see the finance leadership in today's time. So, what A term that we are using these days is disruption as usual. So DAU, as we say. So what is disruption as usual? Everything we see around, us is absolutely changing and is being disrupted. And I'm not talking about finance. I'm talking about businesses, that are getting disrupted and getting disrupted from those quarters which you could never think of. Disrupted in such a way that it is very difficult for you to even fathom that, this kind of disruption can really take place. Old times, we used to have companies which were pretty heavy on capital, on capitalizations, a lot of assets, and while you have all these assets, while you were investing in all these assets, it becomes sort of very depreciation heavy kind of a company. And today, the kind of disruptions or the companies or business models that are coming up in the world, these are completely different ways, very light asset kind of a models, which are coming around us. Can I request everybody to please mute yourself? Thank you. So I meet some wonderful guys, some wonderful young people, and it's very important, and relevant for an institute like IIM Raipur. I had met Ritesh, the promoter of OYO, a few years ago when he was just starting, this venture. Very, very young person. We were also one of the investor in that, in his venture. Also, similar story was Ola. And Bhavesh, you happened to be from Ludhiana, so we had another, connect from Ludhiana. I served in Ludhiana for Hero Cycle, for a very long time, and my promoters, Munjals, also come from Ludhiana. So therefore, the kind of companies like Ola created or OYO created are completely asset-light concepts. I met a gentleman a few weeks ago in one of the conference. I am forgetting the name. He makes shoes, I think, with the name Niemans. And these are wonderful shoes, and he makes them from waste plastic. And just think about it, he's giving competition to the likes of Reebok and Nike. Again, a very young boy of about 18, 19 years currently. Even now, he's 18, 19 years. So you can think of what you can do if you have the right idea and you understand the nuances of execution. And this also tells me how times are evolving. Now, if I come to finance world and talk of how this finance world has evolved, I think that finance leaders have pretty much two roles to play in last few years, let's say about 10 years ago, if I talk about. One was the steward role, as we say, that you are keeping the assets of the company very tightly. You are putting all kinds of controls in place so that whatever is owned by the company, you understand that and you operate that, very, very tightly. You also take care of external stakeholders and internal stakeholders. And you make sure that the financial position or reporting of the financial numbers is shown very, very accurately. But you think of it, what we were talking about was hindsight. The action has already taken place because the transactions that I'm capturing is post happening of the transactions. So once the transaction has happened, I'm just recording it and reporting it. So that was the role. And the other role was operational. Operational means you just look at what are the numbers? Can I look at the numbers? Can I make some improvement in the numbers? I look at the costs, I look at the offerings. But again, this is something what was happening post facto. Post the transactions have already taken place. So again, we were looking at the past and trying to predict future from there. But future is very, dicey always. We always talk about predicting the future, and it's very difficult to really predict the future, per se. So therefore, our roles of steward and operational, I'm proud to say that, the finance community has played that role to perfection. But when the times have evolved, you have to make sure that you are the creator and not only reporter. You have to move from hindsight to foresight. And how do you do that? And that's where the next roles of finance leaders came in place. So we talked about strategic roles. It's very important today. And I go back while we were setting up the plant for Daimler, Mercedes-Benz, and we were to. It was a very large project. We were talking about investing almost about 5,000 crores in the state of Tamil Nadu, and we went around and shopped around with different states, looking at what can be done and what kind of incentives can be given for putting up this kind of a project in their state. Of course, there are other considerations like location, etc., to be taken care of. However, this financial part, the incentives, can be very, very strong motivator to put a plant in one particular place, in one particular location. This is where finance had to play a proactive role, a strategic role, a catalyst, so that we understand what would be the impact of these incentives or taxation structure on the future of the company. And I'm very proud to tell you that while we looked at, so we were spending about 5,000 crores. So I'll give you two specific examples that I recall from those days. There were different categories of investments, that could have been there. So, there was a mega and plant or mega investment or ultra mega investment were the two highest categories. And the differential between, from moving from mega to ultra mega was 1,000 crore additional investment. And we were looking at, what would qualify as investment in their definition. We were short of about 1,000 crores. So therefore, instead of going to the highest category of ultra mega, which would mean a larger amount of incentives. So this would mean all sales tax or VAT, which used to be there at that point in time, or GST, as we say, collected from the customers would be refunded to the company as other income. So whatever investment, to the extent you have made the investment, and the time period given is 21 years instead of 14 years in the mega scheme. So therefore, when I looked at the policy document of Tamil Nadu government, this is where we put up the plant. There were only 3 lines written, while all other investments were detailed in few pages. So if I talk about equipment, they had given almost about 20 pages of what kind of equipment will qualify and what will not. However, as far as there were 3 lines about research and development, so R&D investments, and it talked about only. It did not talk about whether it will qualify or not. It only said that Tamil Nadu government proposes to encourage the investment in R&D, and of course India has not been a very R&D heavy country. However, the plant that we were looking at, we were planning a very heavy R&D investments because Mercedes-Benz trucks would not be suitable for Indian environment, especially from the cost point of view. They would be very, very costly and nobody would be able to afford them. So we had to make it suitable for Indian conditions in terms of technology and technical specs, as well as a cost optimization had to be done, which would mean a whole lot of Indianization of the components. And for that, I had to spend, we had to spend almost about 1,000 crores of R&D investments. So therefore, we went to the government. I made that, I led that, and I went to the government and I said, I was leading I was the external head of external affairs for Daimler Trucks at that point in time. And I made this contention to them that, since we are spending so heavy and there is no other company in Tamil Nadu which is spending that much on R&D, this should also be included in the ultra mega, in the investment, so that it goes to the ultra mega statement. After a few, iterations of negotiations, they had agreed to our proposal. So that is one place where finance had to play a very strategic and catalyst kind of a role. And then going ahead, I even took it further, and there are certain income tax provisions under which you were allowed 200% deduction of investment made in R&D. 200% used to be at that point in time. Understand now it is 125%. So if I talk about 1,000 crores, when I talk about 1,000 crores of investment, when I take 2,000 crores of income tax reduction, 30% on that is 600 crores. That could be taken off my tax payable in future. So in effect, what we had done was the entire investment plus, we would take back from it would come back from the government in a way. So in a way, you would be making this factory completely free. So this is one example out of my own experience, but you have to really see what kind of incentives, what kind of schemes, what kind of M&As that will help me in making this venture successful or more competitive or more customer friendly. Ultimately, finance has the end objective of finance is not to make flashy reports, but to ensure that the business becomes successful. So this is how we have been evolving. And today, finance leaders, apart from playing steward and operational roles, which is given, which is your bread and butter. So you can't ignore that, but you have to today play strategic and catalyst role for sure. And I come back again, setting the context. We talk about that we are living in the VUCA world. All of you know what the VUCA world. And today, some people were talking to me the other day that, now from VUCA, we have moved to Bani world. So it's okay. I mean, whatever we term that we use, we all know that the world today, and will always, in my view, is volatile, is uncertain, is complex, is ambiguous. And what you have to really try and do is, in a volatile world, you have to give a vision to the company. Through vision only, through foresight only, through situational awareness only, you would be able to tackle the volatility of the business. Uncertainty is always there. Sometimes uncertainty is known, sometimes not known. Of course, what we saw in last 2 years was completely, bolt from the blue. So to say, nobody even thought about it. And this is not something which has happened, which has not happened earlier. Happened earlier, however, it happened about 100 years ago. So you could not really take this and extrapolate that, now it will happen in next 100 years or so. So you don't know. Today, probably this is become much more uncertain. And our understanding of this uncertainty and how to deal with uncertainty is evolving now, especially after the COVID onslaught on us. So you bring clarity to a situation, you communicate very, very clearly, and you take the right decisions with a very clear mind. And it is primarily the decisions that you take that make or break the organization, the company, the families. You just look at anywhere. It's the decision that you take. And therefore, it is very important. How do you take that decision? I think that is absolutely very important. When I talk about complexity, of course, you bring simplicity. And we always, talk about problems are complex, solutions are simple. So the moment you bring a situation to simplicity, the solutions start emerging all by itself. And as far as ambiguity is concerned, if you move fast, if you are nimble, if you're thinking on your feet, you have to decide a course of action. You will make mistakes. There is no one on earth, and I have actually had the honor of speaking to a whole lot of startups, and these entrepreneurs, especially in the startups, they're not bothered that, and they say sometimes very proudly that, I did that and I failed, and then I did that and then I failed again, and then I did that, I failed again, and then fourth time, maybe your fifth time, or maybe 10th time. So failing is actually the term failing itself is a fallacy. There's nothing like failing. I said failing is like falling. And what do you do if you fall? You just get up, अपने कपड़े झाड़ते हैं और आगे चल देते हैं. So that's what you do. And that's what is truly needed if you have to tackle about this. I will talk about 4 very specific trends. And these are trends which are interrelated trends. And McKinsey came out, this in about 2019. And this was prior to the pandemic. And they talked about 4 interrelated trends which are creating completely new kind of business models, completely new way of thinking. They're changing the old rules of management, if I talk about. So one is there's more connectivity. So when I talk about connectivity, what am I talking about? I take you, and if I really look at it, we have 35 billion machines which are connected, 35 billion devices which are connected. And this is, please understand, this is 2019 number, that McKinsey had given. And today, if I talk about after 2 years where connectivity was the only way to really keep working. So therefore, after that, this has actually gone up, must have gone up. And even at 35 billion, you look at the human population. So this relationship is 1:4. And again, this is an average, which is a very, very dangerous, mathematical number. How many people have access to the technology or connected devices, to that extent? If you just exclude those numbers, this number itself would be 1:8 or 1:10 kind of thing. So for every one single human being, there are at least 4 to 8 connected machines today. And this connected machines have actually given birth to a completely new way of doing business. This is when the light asset business models have come in. This is where we started understanding the value of information, value of data. When we talk about data as the new oil, we all talk about data as the new oil. I'll give you another example from one of our companies. So we have Hero Enterprises as the group, and we have multiple companies in the group. And one of the company deals with insurance. So insurance broking. This is India's largest insurance broking company. We give almost more than 1 crore policy every year. So volumes are large. And when I talk about these volumes, just think about the kind of data or the wealth of data, I would say, that is available. If I see only about last 3-4 years, which is more current data, and I talk about, forget about before 4 years, 5 years, I would have more than 5 crore customers' data directly coming from them. So it's very rich, data in nature. Can I use this data to create a new business model? Yes, I mean, we have done that. We are working on that. And today, when you have started to understand the nuances of data, the way data can be understood, the technology is available to read that data, the big data, And on this big data that we talk about, if we go for machine learning and artificial intelligence. So one particular area where we have gone for, this is we have been using analytics, of course, for last many years, but now we have gone for a new startup came to us, and I have given them the liberty to look at the data and see how what they can do, and they have done wonders. They have created a system where this big data can be taken to a data lake, and then different relationships, trends, etc., can be read from that. And more importantly, because they are not the business people, my people who are doing business, they are the business people, and they don't understand IT. So it's very difficult for them. So now they have created a no-code analytics. And when I say no-code analytics, that means what I'm talking about is you have to just write very simple English instruction, very simple English. And you just write, give me sales for quarter 2, 2022, compare with quarter 2, 2021. Very simple English. And in a flash, there would be 8 different views that you can get on the data. Whether you want a pie chart, you want a trend chart, or you want Excel sheet, or whatever way you want the data in. So that is the power of doing, having this technology, which is connected, which is completely connected. And now, of course, we are going much beyond and talking about blockchain, and we are talking about metaverse and things like that. So that's one trend which is very important. And related with that is unprecedented automation that is taking place in this. And frankly speaking, I have never seen the kind of automation that is taking place, that has taken place in last 5, 6, 7 years in my life, before that. And this is going up and up. And what is happening is, with the connectivity and with the automation and the new kind of business models that are being created out of it, the transaction costs have actually almost disappeared. They become very, very low. And that is again something which, so you have banks which have no branches. You can have a very, very large company, and I'm talking about, one particular company which has over $1 billion, in revenue, and they, that company is run by only 15 people, 15 people, that's all. So that is the kind of, platforms that can be created. And then, of course, apart from all of these things which are happening on technology, there is a fundamental societal shift that is also taking place of the way Generation Z behaves. How would they look at their own aspirations? How would they look at life? How would they look at work? Of course, we all understand, work from home has gone to work from anywhere. And today I'm sitting at home and talking to all of you is something which is very, very normal, which would have been a big thing almost only about 3 years ago. In 2019, when somebody would be talking about this, would be something, talking about a very, a leap in technology. Today, it is a 5-year-old boy will talk about, doing a Zoom call or talking to somebody, or keeping, reaching my clients. And sorry. In this, of course, this is again an old number, but not a very true representation. But Zoom in 2019, 2020 had a market capitalization of 144 billion, and 6 of the top airlines in US had half of that, less than half of that capitalization. So again, as we talked about, some of these things we are talking about IoT, data analytics, etc. And SAP said some time ago that less than 1% of the data is actually being analyzed and turned into benefits. We'll talk about environment, accessibility, cybersecurity is a big question today. And again, how do you really look at cybersecurity? And in fact, I keep talking to a whole lot of CFOs in the community, because I'm at various forums and I keep speaking at different forums, and 100% of the CFOs I have talked to in last 1 year, 100%, not even a single exception, is that they have faced some kind of cybersecurity issue or some kind of cyber attack. Some people have seen a very large attack, some people have seen a smaller attack, but some kind of cybersecurity issue everybody has gone through. So that's again, something which is. Now, this is something, which I talk about, and I talk about this a lot. And when I say, when the pandemic was there, at that point in time, and now I'm talking about not only finance, but also the business per se. When the pandemic was there, you had to show what you call resilience, right? And you showed resolve. And with that resolve, now most of us have returned to pre-pandemic levels in our businesses. Most of us, in India, of course, I've seen some of them have started going beyond, but at least they have returned to the pre-pandemic levels of business. But this is absolutely the time for us, or last few years that we had. That was the time for us to really reimagine the business per se. And this is quite different from re-engineering the business. We have all heard of re-engineering the business, re-engineering the processes, especially in terms of processes. We have all talked about, Hammer and Champy had written that book of, business re-engineering in 90s. And what they were talking about was primarily standardizing and automating things so that, things can become faster. And, all the repetitive things, especially, can be automated very, very easily, standardized very, very easily, which will result in lower costs. But today you have to go beyond re-engineering and do a reimagining of the business, of finance, of organization, the way you work. whether you should work with 100 people or you should work with 10 people. Today, we are talking about RPA. RPA is robotic process automation. So instead of, or we call them virtual, people. So I have one physical person sitting with me doing repetitive jobs, and along with him, I have 3 RPAs, which are virtual people. And these virtual people are working 24/7. They don't need rest. They make no mistakes. They are absolutely working as per the rules laid down. They don't take loo breaks. So we look at least the repetitive work can be assigned to these RPAs. Of course, we will bring, when enough progress has been made in artificial intelligence, and then we can give them something more, which could be, there are certain things to be thought about and to be done. But RPAs today are doing a lot of repetitive jobs, and many of our companies are employing, RPAs in that sense. But again, I'm saying, as I talk about reimagining, I'm talking about changing the paradigm. You're talking about digitalization. You're talking about cognitive technologies. You're talking about increasing capability of the talent, that is around you. So you have to transform. You have to simplify. That's what reimagining would be all about. And as I said, when you do this, then you reach the operational excellence. And in the finance world today, today's CFO cannot think of, so let me just talk about, whenever there is a finance work, there is a huge amount of reconciliation that has to take place, because in any finance system, there are some external numbers, there are some internal numbers, and both of these numbers have to be reconciled. So a lot of reconciliation takes place. We are working at external systems and internal systems speaking to each other, and when they speak to each other, are they speaking the same language, or is there anything up and down which needs to be reconciled? Today, even I'll give a very simple example of, some 20 years ago when we used to do a bank reconciliation. The bank transactions I'm noting in my books, and I take a bank statement and match these 2 statements. Today, all of that is done automatically. So 90% of these reconciliations are being done automatically, have to be done automatically, have to be designed to be done automatically. I would say 100%, but there are always some ifs and buts around that. But at least 90% of this has to be done automatically. And that is the only way that you can plug the loopholes. Today, a very simple thing, I have some 20,000 odd agents in the market who are doing insurance policies on behalf of me. And they are all connected with a particular system. My system is capturing all these insurance policies. Is there a reconciliation? And for all these insurance policy, I pass it on to the relevant insurance companies. And there are 20 insurance companies. And each one, based on the policy issue, issues me a commission on those policies. Unless these are all completely reconciled, I would be losing my commission. There would be something on the way or lost, or, somebody issued a policy, did not come to my system. So that auto reconciliation is very, very important. So operational excellence will have to be built with what we call intelligent process automation. Digital first has to be there. You just think about how can I do this digitally instead of doing it manually? How my RPA can do that instead of a manual, intervention that I can do it. And once you have this operational excellence and you put digital intelligence, that's how you influence the business. You partner with the people. Today, you're not living in silos, in the business, unless the salesperson talks and has the finance number. So while, this was a very wonderful conversation I've had with multiple companies, within our group companies, and even when I was with Daimler. And as probably, as we have been taught that financial numbers are very sacrosanct and they should have very limited access. And I was always talking about what today we have given it a term, and we talk about it as democratization of the information or democratization of the financial information. That means the person who needs the information should have the information automatically, including financial information. Automatically, he should have access to that. And he does not have to come and ask the finance guys. All the finance guys had taken or had assumed a huge amount of power. And this power came from the information they possessed. And they did not want to let that go. And I said, this is absolutely, completely nonsense. The person, so let me give you an example. In a real estate company, so we have a real estate company, and when I talked about, give him that information. And then there was a big debate, and finally we gave that information, and we saw that the closure ratio went up by 200%. And the front guy was very, very happy, that he has the right information when he's speaking to a customer. He knows to what extent he can give the discounts and what is the, for 1% of discount, what will be the impact on the profitability of the company or profitability of that project. If he has that information in its own way, he does not need to have 100% information that is there in the finance system, but his relevant information has to be available to him that will help him taking a decision, a faster decision. The agility will come only then. Otherwise, we are talking about agility as a concept, and it's not there on the ground unless we democratize the financial information. So that's how we do it, and that's how you influence the business. This is a wonderful example of reimagining, as I said, and investing in assets during the time when you have the time and you are taking bold decisions. So this was from Bain & Company. So they did a study of 3,865 companies all around the world. And they looked at how these companies, and this company, this information was analyzed primarily from 2008 to 2017. And why this 2008 to 2017 is very important is that 2008 was a financial crisis year. If you guys recall, there was a financial crisis in 2008 because of Lehman Brothers, etc. So at that point in time, how did companies behave? What were their investment plans? Did they prepare themselves well for the better times to come ahead during turbulent times? And when they looked at that, there were 416 companies who they called winners, and others they called laggards. So 3,449 companies. So the CAGR of winners was 18% over the 10 years of 2008 to 2017, while at the same time, CAGR of growth for others was about 5%. So if you really look at what this mindset of growth, mindset of being bold, mindset of being able to take calls and decisions with agility and with boldness can give you. So Swami Vivekananda, used to say, be bold, especially for the youth. I think if you guys have not read his lectures, please do that, his messages to the youth. He talks about you have to have will of steel. You have to be bold. You take decisions after being bold. And generally, in the youth only, you have that ability to really take that bold decisions. And this is what bold decisions during turbulent times can do to you. So it's a wonderful example by Bain & Company. I talked about, analytics, of course, is changing from descriptive to prescriptive, and I talked about code to no code analytics. So now coming to what are the areas that CFO needs to focus. First of all, I talked about very clearly that you have to think about business per se, so that you are improving margins through technology adoption. We talked about this a lot. Second thing is ESG. ESG is a big topic today. And I said, please, guys, go back to your own scriptures, go back to your own history. Atharvaved said, Mata Bhumi Putro Aham Prithivyaha. Earth is my mother and I am the son of earth. This is what? This is basically what we're talking about environment. Please take care of the earth. We're talking about, Guru Nanak Dev Ji, you said, Pavan Guru Pani Pita Mata Dharat Mahat. So air is the Guru, water is the father, and earth is the great mother of all. Or you talk about, S, the social part of ESG. We talk about Sangachadvam, Samvadadham, Samvo Mananse Janatam, Deva Bhagam Yatha Purve Sanjanana Upasate. So this is, we go together, we speak together, we understand each other's minds, and we get what we are destined to get, And Chanakya, many years ago, talked about 16% tax. I wish our rulers today also talk about, 16% tax. So he talked about this, Balishad Bhagam Udhatya Drapasya Rakshitaha Praja. So the king has to charge 16% tax, and then he has to take care of his, Praja. The other part, which is very important, is corporate governance. How do you deal with the ecosystem of the corporate? How do you talk about the boards? How do you talk about board composition? You talk about shareholders. You talk about your stakeholders as suppliers, as customers. And this internal corporate governance has to be really thought about in a very wholesome manner. Customer has to remain the focus, the central focus of the finance leader. Finance leader does not start thinking only about financial numbers unless he has customer in his focus. And this customer can be internal customer and external customer. If you keep customer in focus, you know that whatever you do around, whatever you bring, whatever you prepare, whatever you create is centered around the customer, because the value is coming from the customer only. And this is the time for us to move from value potential to value creation. That's what customer will only give us. You talk about cash flow. We always said Singh is king. Cash is king. Okay, you say Singh is king. Of course, that is. Cash is king. No business can survive today unless you have the right kind of cash flows flowing through it. So more than even profitability, today our emphasis is on cash flow. So that's one area. And when I talk about cash flow, I talk about different aspects of working capital or equity or debt to make sure that the company has adequate amount of cash. Ultimately, the people run the company. So you have to make sure that people are capable, people are skilled, and right kind of skills, the contemporary skills are given to them. They are encouraged to, take on those, skills. Of course, you have to move from the old way to the new way. As I said, move from hindsight to the foresight. And that's where you have to build these capabilities. Of course, this I can, at the end of it, there are some books, that I always talk about. Every business student should read. The first book, of course, I'm a bit biased, and I talked about The Making of Hero. This book was written by my chairman, Mr. Sunil Kant Munjal, was the best business book of the year in 2020 by Tata Lit. And I had the privilege of translating this book in Hindi myself with the name Hero Ki Kahani. And of course, all of other books, which are absolutely wonderful books for all of us to read. So that's all, from my end. Thank you very much. I hope I still left with some time to to take a few questions if you have.
Yes, any questions from the audience, please?
Hi, Arun, this side. Can you please show us that ESG slide again?
Book slides.
Which slide do you want? Okay, I'll just
ESG, that
The book slides, sir.
Atharved and
okay, I'll
quite
come up that.
interesting. Yeah.
ESG.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, you please ask me what is your question? I will.
That was bit. I mean, from ESG perspective, I mean, if we really correlate it with what our ancestor has told us, I mean, it is really a strong point which I have come across. I mean, thank you for that. And if you could more elaborate on S and G again, that would be good.
Okay, when we talk about what is ESG, ESG is you have to have environmental questions, in place, because today environment is not something which can be taken for granted. This is an existential question for us today. If there is no environment left, and the kind of way we have really taken it to dogs, so to say, in our greed, in the race of profitability, we have created all kinds of issues for the earth, whether it is issues for earth, issues for air, issues for water, all of it. So today, every house in India has to have an RO. You can't drink, the water coming from the tap. This is absolutely atrocious. Why should this happen? Because we have put so much of kachra in, all our, on a day-to-day basis. So that's environment. When you talk about social that you're asking, is we have to go beyond self-centeredness. We have to understand the virtues of being in a community, virtues of being helpful to each other. And this is where I was just trying to look at what do we have. So it's a very famous shlok. In fact, people who, I have seen some people reading this on a day-to-day basis. They said Sangat Chadvam, which means Saath Saath Chale, Sam Vadadvam, Saath Saath Bole, Sam Wo Manan Se Janatam. We understand each other's minds. Deva Bhagam Yatha Purve Sanjanana Upasate. So that's the full, shloka. We get what is needed by what we should get, as was received by our forefathers, right? So this is, again, we are talking about living in community, understanding community power. But how do you get it? There was another shlok that I just recall. They say udyame nahi siddhayanti karyani namanorathahi nahi suptasya singhasya pravishanti mukhim ragaha. So which primarily says उद्यम करने से, काम करने से ही आपके कार्य सफल होते हैं, मनोरथ करने से या सिर्फ सोच लेने से नहीं। सोते हुए शेर के मुंह में हिरन खुद जाकर नहीं चला जाता। So he has to work for it. So you have to work for it. But being together, and I'll give you a practical example from from our company. So we have a real estate company also, which is called Hero Homes, and we have projects in Haridwar, Mohali, Ludhiana, and Gurgaon. And we have taken community as a very central topic for all of us. Community living. And very recently, in fact, if you really look at it, just about 2 months ago on Diwali, a day before Diwali, we created a world record, Guinness Book of World Record, by creating the largest diya in the world. And if you really look at it, what is so special about creating the largest diya in the world? I mean, there's nothing so special about it, so to say, except that you thought about it. But more importantly, I said, this is a diya where 4,700 liters of oil will come in. So I said, the company will not put, even a single company will make a diya but only the houses living in our projects, they should contribute the oil so that they feel that this is their own. And we did it in one of our projects in Mohali, and each house contributed anything, from half a liter to 10 liters of oil to for burning of the diya. So this is when you bring everybody together. And there was a wonderful film also, if you can see on YouTube, released by Hero Homes on this power of community. So that's how I really look at it. It is absolutely important for us to go back to our roots, understand, and these are very powerful tools in a way to put us all together.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Any other questions, participants? I can take one more, I think. Yes, last one.
Yeah, sure.
A quick request. I needed that book slide. Can you please show?
Yes. Lot of congestion. Yes, any one participant, please.
Yes, I would like to go.
Yes.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Sir, with respect to the investment policies you have talked about regarding Tamil Nadu state. So, sir, sometimes happen due to the political turmoil. The old government, the new government usually throws away the old government's policies. And when we are making such a huge investment in some of the states, when we are coming up with such a great infrastructure, so how does companies curtail such losses? We have seen with Tata Singur factory, which was then transported to Sanand in Gujarat. And so with your prior experience in this field, how do companies take actions on this kind of matter?
So it's a wonderful question. Actually, you're right in a way, but fortunately, Singur being one exception, actually, that is the only exception that you see. I don't really see any other exception anywhere else as far as businesses are concerned, as far as economy is concerned. Fortunately, on economic policies, if you really go through last few years, if you see the present compensation, government, whether at the center or in different states, the kind of policies on economics that are being made are not changed, or are not changed for worse. They may be improved upon, but they have not been changed for worse. That's number one. And number two, I've actually been part of some discussions on certain states, especially with respect to Punjab and Tamil Nadu. When I was in Tamil Nadu, I was part of, from a CII, I was participating in that. And they were very clear that economic policies would continue in the right earnest. Of course, Singur gave us a very bad example, but frankly speaking, I have not seen any other example other than Singur. And every other state I have seen, and I've dealt with the state of Uttar Pradesh, I've dealt with the state of Karnataka, also even Uttarakhand, for that matter. Everybody is, irrespective of whether there was Congress or whether there was, BJP or AIDMK or DMK, they have continued this policy. I have not seen much change.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think Pratik has also raised his hand. Pratik Singh, yes.
Yeah, please go ahead.
And that's
Sir, hello, sir. I currently work as a banker in finance. So I talk to a lot of SME, MSME and their promoters and directors. And I one day aspire to be in a position, something like yours. I mean, yours is a very high level position, but something to go on that part. And I think my current placement as a banker who talks directly to promoters places me in a very good position to, know about businesses a lot more than a normal folk would. So, sir, I just want to know from your personal experience, how your life has been so far. What advice do you want to give to people like me who aspire to be in your place? How do I, treat life? How do I take opportunities? What do I think? How do I think?
So I understand your question. It's such a very, you can actually answer this question in 5 volumes, but I would only say it in 5 letters. And I have a very, very good acronym for that. And that's what I would actually suggest all leaders, that's my suggestion. There can be 100 more and different suggestions. I say that is what is called pride. And when I say pride, this means passion, respect, integrity, discipline, and empathy. If you put all of these together, the right mix of this is absolutely takes you to places. Believe in yourself, have faith on your own capabilities, keep improving your capabilities, have passion. Now that passion is one ingredient that makes earth move. That's what if you're passionate about something, you just put it in practice. And I'm sure, only yesterday I was just seeing one story on Twitter where somebody was talking about a very young teacher in Madhya Pradesh. He started teaching students with with his laptop that he had, and then people got to know, and then they gave him tablets, and that that way of teaching was replicated throughout Maharashtra. So this was passion of one person who pursued it and took it forward. So that's something which is very important. Of course, once you have passion, you keep increasing your capabilities, and that's where the books come in place. Have a bit of reading. This learning to learn is a very, very important thing today. And learning to learn is also comes from unlearning a few things and then learning a few new things. So that's all I would say. It's a journey, it's not a destination. Have I reached where I wanted to reach? No way. I think there's a long way to go.
Okay. Thank you, sir. I think the questions are still pending, and you can get in touch with Shri Jogendra ji for further queries and suggestions. So thank you, sir, for joining us and especially sparing your valuable time and agreeing for the talk. I thank you sincerely from the bottom of my heart and on behalf of IIM Raipur for joining us today and enlightening us with your talk. I think we'll be able to remember the 5 R's that you specially spoke: resolve, resilience, return, reimagine, reform, the interrelated trends that are unwinding today, and especially the pride acronym, and we'll work on it surely, sir. Thank you, sir, for being there with us. And with this, I want to thank Prof Kamal Jain also, who suggested and who helped me out. And that's why we were able to have such a beautiful session today. I also thank my director, sir, for his constant support. Without his support, these Gyan sessions would not have been possible. Over to you, Subhash.
So, on behalf of the Alumni Committee, we are glad to express our vote of thanks. A very special thanks to our speaker, Shri Jogendra Singh, for accepting our invitation and for being here with us virtually today, despite his hectic schedule. Your thoughts and views on rewriting the role of a finance leader, the role of finance in the establishment of an organization, and the strategic and catalyst roles of CFO were very insightful. We thank our director, Professor Ram Kumar Kakani, Chairperson Professor Archana Parashar, and Dean Professor Kamal Jain for standing by us and making this event possible. I would be failing in my duty if I did not thank our esteemed alumni for being here and making this day a wonderful and memorable one. Thank you once again.
Thank you very much. Thanks a lot.
And thank you, and wishing you all a very happy new year. Thank you, sir. Thank you once again.
Absolutely wishing all a very happy new year.
Thank you, Jogendra, and wish you a happy new year. And hopefully we'll catch up very soon.
Sure, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Thanks, everybody. Please take care.